Everyone gets excited about days 1 and 2 of the NFL draft. But let's not forget that there's some value to be had on day 3, and the Bills have plenty of picks to find it. Welcome to Billievers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to this pre-draft edition of Billievers Talk, where we take a look at the Buffalo Bills as they get ready for the 2020 NFL Draft. Again, guys, my name is Joe, and thank you for joining me. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. And after you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that notification bell. YouTube will notify you when we put out new content. We are constantly putting out content on our Buffalo Bills. We also try to keep you updated on all Buffalo sports. So after you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. While you're here, hit that thumbs up button and also leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the history of the Buffalo Bills in the NFL draft. Now, we've already covered our day 2 picks with the history of the Buffalo Bills. Now we're going to look at day 3 picks. Instead of doing an individual video for each pick, I'm kind of going to encompass them all together. The Buffalo Bills have 5 picks on day 3 of the NFL draft currently. Now, again, guys, remember that if the Buffalo Bills decide to trade up on day 2 and maybe use some of these picks as capital, they won't have those picks going into day 3. I personally think that the Buffalo Bills will be trading on day 2 to move up at some point. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think the Bills trade up to on day 2, which means they probably won't have 5 picks on day 3? But we're going to go over those picks anyway and see how the Bills have done in their team history, and also see how the NFL has done in recent history. Have there been any gems picked up in the last 10 years at the same spots where the Buffalo Bills are picking from in the 2020 NFL draft? So first, I want to say that the Buffalo Bills have 5 draft picks on day 3. Currently, without any trades or anything happening, the Buffalo Bills pick 128, 167, 188, 207, and 239. With that 188th spot, this would be the 7th time the Buffalo Bills picked at number 188. So we talked about that on my Friday video, I believe it was, about the Buffalo Bills, or I'm sorry, Thursday video about the Buffalo Bills picking from that third round spot 7 times. This would be the 7th time the Buffalo Bills picked number 188 if they have that pick still on day 3. So let's go through the Buffalo Bills history over their existence, and then we'll talk about, again, the recent NFL history and see if there's any gems at these picks. So with the number 128 pick, the Buffalo Bills have selected there twice before in their existence, 1965 and 1984. In 1965, the Buffalo Bills selected a running back. Now, I know some people think that the Buffalo Bills need to get a running back here in the NFL draft, and like I said before, although there's not a lot of depth at the running back position, there are some good players that will be available at the start of day 3 in the NFL draft. So maybe that's where the Buffalo Bills look to get a running back. However, in 1965, the Buffalo Bills selected Bruce Earhart, running back, and unfortunately, he did not play a single snap for the Buffalo Bills. And that's going to happen a lot on day 3, right? You talk about the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds. You're talking about guys that you're hoping to develop, that teams are hoping to develop into a potential backup or maybe a low-grade starter. Now, of course, there are always exceptions to that rule, but that's what you're looking to do. A guy who can maybe be on your practice squad. A guy like a Vosean Joseph, right, who spent time on the practice squad last year. Hopefully, you're going to see some more time on the field this season. But that's why the practice squad is there. You can hold some of these players that you think can turn into good contributors to your team down the line. So in 1965, Bruce Earhart did not play a single snap for the Buffalo Bills. However, in 1984, we picked up a guy by the name of John Kidd, punter, and he actually spent 13 years in the NFL. Now, he's a punter. I don't think any Bills fan will be happy with the Buffalo Bills picking up a punter in the 4th round of the NFL draft. However, if he has a 13-year career and it's all with the Bills, that wouldn't be too bad. Now, when we picked up John Kidd in 1984, he did not spend his entire 13-year career with the Buffalo Bills. He only spent 6 seasons with the Buffalo Bills, but a pretty consistent player at the punter position, as consistent as you can be. In 1995, towards the end of his career, he was actually named to the 2nd team All-Conference team when he was not with the Buffalo Bills. Not sure which team he was with, but hey, a pretty good career, 13 years. Would love for him to be a punter for the Buffalo Bills for that long, and would love to get a 13-year starter at pick number 128 if we can this season. 167 was the next pick, and we picked there twice as well. In fact, we picked their back-to-back seasons in 1992 and 1993. The Bills picked at number 167. And in 1992, the Buffalo Bills picked up Nate Turner, tight end, spent 2 years with the Buffalo Bills and played in 26 games. No starts, however, and he wasn't much of a receiving threat, I'll say, for the Buffalo Bills. Jim Kelly didn't look his way too often. In fact, in his 2 seasons with the Buffalo Bills, there were only 2 passes that went his way. One in 1992 and then one again in 1993. Now in 1992, he didn't catch the ball. In 1993, he had a 100% catch percentage because he caught the ball. Not only did he catch the ball, he caught the ball for a touchdown. So although Jim Kelly didn't look his way all that much, the 2 times he did, he comes down with 1 catch, 26 yards, and a touchdown for Nate Turner. Only spent 2 seasons with the Bills, but he did get a touchdown while he was there. In 1993, the Bills focused on their offensive line, as the Buffalo Bills might do on day 3 in this NFL draft, picking up guard Corbin Lasina, 4 years with the Buffalo Bills, made 28 starts. Again, if you're talking about a guy that you're picking up at 167, a guy who can be a contributor and make 28 starts, that's exciting for you. I mean, that's really good, a really good draft pick if you're a Buffalo Bills fan. Now, one thing that I will say about Lasina is one thing that he would do really well at if he was on the Buffalo Bills today is he's versatile, right? We know how much Brandon Beane, Coach McDermott, loved that word, versatility. In 28 starts, he played at both left and right guard, so they like being able to move someone around the line a little bit, a fill-in starter if needed. If the Buffalo Bills then picked 188, that's going to be in the 5th round. They've picked 188, like I said before, 6 times. This would be their 7th time. 1961, they pick up Frank Jakunas, a center, started 3 games for the Buffalo Bills in 2 seasons. 1962, they pick up Stan Surzek. Now, one thing about him, linebacker, remember in 1962, there was still an AFL and an NFL draft. So the Buffalo Bills in 1962 drafted him in the 6th round. However, the Cleveland Browns over the NFL drafted him in the 2nd round. So he was going to make more money playing in the NFL. So that's the way he did. So although he was drafted by the Buffalo Bills in 1962, he actually never played a single down for the Buffalo Bills. Then in 1963, the Buffalo Bills draft someone, a name that's very familiar to many of you if you know the NFL history, not for what he did in Buffalo, but for what he did in Oakland, and that's Daryle Lamonica. That's right, the Buffalo Bills drafted Daryle Lamonica in 1963. Quarterback spent 4 seasons with the Buffalo Bills. In those 4 seasons, made 4 starts. In those 4 starts, he went 4-0. Why did the Bills get rid of him? Why did the Bills get rid of him at 4-0? If you look at his stats, however, not the greatest stats. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns in his 4 years with the Buffalo Bills. So you do have to take that into consideration. We also had this guy in the backfield named O.J. Simpson. Probably had a lot to do with us winning those games at the time. However, then he goes on to Oakland, where he becomes a 4-time Pro Bowler and, again, makes some history. He's one of the first guys to start throwing it deep. He really expanded the offense when he was around, really an innovator at that quarterback position. So if you don't know much about Daryle Lamonica, I suggest we're in quarantine right now, right? So watch some old film of Daryle Lamonica. He could really throw the ball. 1981, the Buffalo Bills selected Steve Doolittle, and just like I said before, linebacker, he did not play for the Buffalo Bills. Same thing with our pick in 1994, Anthony Abrams, defensive end, never played. In 2015, we pick up an outside linebacker, Tony Stewart. Now, when we picked up Tony Stewart, I was actually very excited because back in 2015, I was a NASCAR fan, and my favorite race car driver was Tony Stewart. So when I saw us pick up Tony Stewart, I was wishing him the best, obviously, as I do with every Buffalo Bills draft pick. But in 7 games with the Buffalo Bills, he only made 2 tackles, and then the Buffalo Bills did not bring him back the following season. So unfortunately, it didn't work out. But again, when you get later and later in the draft, that's the way it's going to work out. And then the Buffalo Bills select number 207. With the 207th pick in 1967, the Buffalo Bills selected defensive back Tommy Luke. And same thing with 1983, we selected James Durham. Neither of them ever played for the Buffalo Bills. In 2004, the Buffalo Bills selected a tackle. Dylan McFarland spent 2 seasons with the Buffalo Bills playing in 3 games. But when you talk about these late picks, 200s, you don't expect too much out of them. So to see anybody with some playing time at pick 207 must be a good sign. If you're a Buffalo Bills fan, if you're a fan of the scouting team in general, you want to see a guy who can play on the roster, who can make the roster, and at 207, pretty impressive to make a roster. 239, we actually only picked at 239 one time in our existence, and that's in 2007 when we picked up CJ Ayu, and he never played for the Buffalo Bills. So that's a history of the Buffalo Bills drafting at the picks that they have in the 2020 NFL draft. Looking at those draft picks that the Bills has the NFL had any guys that really stick out over the last 10 seasons picked at those positions? Again, the Bills draft 120, 128, 167, 188, 207, and 239. Who has done well at those spots when they were picked there? And it starts just last season. Just last season, you're talking about running backs, right? The Buffalo Bills possibly picking up a running back late in the NFL draft. Well, you pick up a guy like this guy in 2019. He was picked number 128 overall. That's Tony Pollard from the Dallas Cowboys. Now, we know he never started for Dallas because they have that guy named Ezekiel Elliott, but in his appearances for the Dallas Cowboys, he did pretty good, having scored 3 touchdowns for the Cowboys and contributing 562 total scrimmage yards last season. For a backup running back that you pick up in the 4th round, that's pretty good. And we saw some explosion from Tony Pollard. Wouldn't be surprised if we see more of him in 2020 and beyond. Maybe Dallas can trade him, and he could get an opportunity to start somewhere because he did show some explosiveness just last season. If you go back to 2016, another name that you guys might know is quarterback Jeff Driscoll. Jeff Driscoll has made some starts in the NFL since he's come into the NFL in 2016, has 8 starts in his career. Unfortunately, the wins haven't come his way. Playing for Cincinnati and Detroit over the past few seasons hasn't been fun for any quarterback that has played on those teams. Not exactly winning that much recently, but 1-7. He does have a 59.4 completion percentage in his career. I think he's played in about 36 games, if I remember correctly, but he has made 8 starts. Unfortunately, 1-7 in those starts. He was picked 207, so to get a quarterback in a 200 plus and be able to make some plays, that's impressive to me. And I know he doesn't have a good career record, but he still has time to turn that around. Now in 2014, this is probably my favorite pick when I look at these guys who were picked at the Buffalo Bills position, and that's a guy that we could have got last year at the center position. That's Matt Paradis. Matt Paradis spent a lot of time with the Denver Broncos. In fact, he was with the Denver Broncos from 2014 to 2018, and he was a part of that 2015 Super Bowl team for the Denver Broncos. Now, last year, he went in free agency to, I believe, the Carolina Panthers, and the Buffalo Bills were in that discussion. It was either Matt Morse or Matt Paradis, or I'm sorry, Mitch Morse or Matt Paradis, so we know which way the Buffalo Bills went on there, but then Matt Paradis goes to the Carolina Panthers, starts all 14 of the 16 games for the Carolina Panthers. Did have an injury that kept him out of 2, but 14 starts. A guy that was drafted 239th in the 7th round. Pretty good guy to get. I'm sorry, 207 in the 6th round. Pretty good guy to get there. In 2011, there was tackle Michael Pearson. He was drafted 239th overall. Made 52 starts. Currently sitting on the San Francisco 49ers. So again, if you get a tackle, an offensive lineman at 239, your last pick in the 7th round, not a bad pick to have a guy who has made 52 starts, currently playing for the NFC's representative of the Super Bowl last year. I mean, he's had a pretty good career, especially for that 239 selection. Shows you that you can get offensive talent between Matt Paradis and Michael Pearson, get some good offensive line talent later in this NFL draft. And then 2010, a guy that started some games at running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. His career, he no longer plays in the NFL. But if you can get a running back like this guy who can be consistent, then that would be a pretty good pickup, especially at number 188, and that's Jonathan Dwyer. In 2010, the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted Jonathan Dwyer with the 188th overall pick, played in 38 games, made 6 starts, had over 1,000 rushing yards in his career. So a pretty consistent running back 2, running back 3 option throughout his career in Pittsburgh. So we'd love to see what he can do or what we could do with that pick, and if we can find a running back that could maybe have the same type of effect that Jonathan Dwyer did in Pittsburgh. So that is the history of the Buffalo Bills 2020 draft picks on day 3. Let me know what you think, guys. Let me know which ones are your favorites, which ones are, who you would like to get in the 3rd round this year. Who are some names that you think might go in the 3rd round that you would really look forward to if the Buffalo Bills were able to get? Again, thank you for joining me. I'm going to continue with my draft coverage. Now that we talk about the history, Now let's talk a little bit about the future. I'll give you my pre-draft mock draft. That's what I'm looking for, mock draft for the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to do one without trades, which will include all these picks. I'm going to do one with trades and see if we can have a little bit of fun. Also, we'll do a complete mock draft of the first round. Not going to be as much fun now that the Buffalo Bills don't have a first round pick, but I'll make sure that I have you covered right here. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and again, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.